Who's Kirsty?
She's running part of the Nidderdale Way. It's like a circular route. It's about 40 miles. She's doing about 20 of it. So
Nice.
Should be a while, yeah. She picked a good day.
On purpose.
Yeah, on purpose, yeah. Although knowing Kirsty in her navigation, she's just as bad as me. She'll probably be, getting lost somewhere, I would imagine.
Gary, sound check.
Blue mic, 1, 2, 3. Hit me with the techno.
Alright, ready when you are.
Yeah, ready to roll. Okay, welcome to the RUNcensored Podcast with me, Ben Mounsey, and the one and only Gary House.
Hello everyone. I realised in the last couple that it's on YouTube and everything, but I haven't been saying hello. I've just been waving, so
Yeah, just giving people
better say hello.
the nod and the chat today.
Yeah.
Gary, how have you been?
Very good, mate. Yeah. Back running a little bit and enjoying myself, and yeah, just back in the swing of things now, really.
I've been doing this thing where I run every day as long as I can, actually. When it's a new year, I mean, we're sort of midway through January now, but I try and keep that roll going. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing to do, but it just keeps me motivated. I don't know if you sort of have done the same thing before or
Yeah, I was always in the same mindset. I like, if I could run all day every day, I probably would, that kind of thing. I'd like just enjoy it. And being a coach, I come up against different kind of methodologies and views and stuff, and I'm just at the mindset of there's nothing wrong with running every single day if your body can tolerate it. Basically, it's just as simple as that. Whether you're someone that's just running for enjoyment a couple of miles or someone who's training hard, you can still run every day. I did it for years, but you'd have a day off if after a race or if you got a bit sick or you had a hangover. But yeah, last year fell out that kind of habit, obviously, but I think there's something good about waking up on January the 1st and going, yeah, I'm just going to run every day as long as I'm motivated and stuff like that.
I think it's a mindset, isn't it? And you get a run done. It makes you go out for a run for a start. And when I say I'm going out every day, I'm not doing a session every day. I'm not
exactly. Yeah.
Racing every day. I'm not training hard every day. But like one day I might go and do a 3-mile walk, jog with the dogs. The next day I might do a session. Next day I might do a long run. But just like focusing and getting out every day, I think is really helpful for me anyway. And it's almost like that professional cyclist mentality where they have a rest day but they're still spinning their legs out there.
Yeah.
I never really stop.
Well, there's people that say they'll have a rest day or they need a rest day and stuff like that, but they might be working 60, 70 hours a week as well, kind of thing. Like I'm quite in the fortunate position where like I work from home essentially, so, and have done and even when I wasn't working from home, I was working out and about, so I could time my runs, time my day to a certain degree. So yeah, I love running every day when I can, and I don't see why that should be an issue. I always found it when I was training, like let's say take my fittest and stuff, I used to think, not that if I took a day off that I was going to lose fitness and things like that, but I could find it would be much easier for go one day to turn into 2 days maybe, rather than just go for, like you say, 30 minutes very easy with the dog. Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. And it's no stress. It's not even really running, is it? It's just like trotting around, but it's the fact that I got my run kit on and did it. Yeah. I used to find that mentally, when I was fit and strong and all that kind of thing, was just the momentum keeping going.
Exactly. And I think sometimes if you need a bit of motivation to get out, especially when it's dark and wet and cold, I've got this other thing where I'll say, right, I can't really be arsed tonight, but I'm going to go and I'm just going to do a mile or 10 minutes. Yeah. And usually I'll do more than 10 minutes. You know, if you really need to get yourself out the door and it just gets you out and you end up doing sometimes a fairly decent run, but then if you really, really don't want to be out, a mile's nothing, is it? You're just out and you've done it, you've ticked it. And I just think mentally for me, it's just like I've done it, I've got that run in, and I feel better for it now.
When you look on Strava, do you use like the yearly goals or anything like that? Yeah, because that's one thing. Because I know we talked about Strava, but one thing I used to do is like I'd take last year's, have a look, and then I wouldn't just increase it stupidly, but I would like setting a target and working your way to that target. Yeah. Did you have like a mileage or a volume or anything like that?
Yeah, I always try and do, if I can, at least 2,000 miles a year. and as much climbing as possible. I always measure it, and I mentioned this in an earlier episode. I always measure my Strava on how much climbing I do. So when I'm looking at my weekly mileage, even, I'm not really looking too much at the mileage. I'm looking more about how much climb I've done, and I get excited when I've done quite a lot. I just go out looking for the vert all the time. So yeah, for me it's that. What about you? Is yours on a certain distance then?
Yeah, like I always wanted to do like 5,000 kilometers was pretty standard, to be honest.
Yeah.
When I was like training a lot more, and so what's that? 3,200 miles maybe. I went through a long period of doing quite high mileage and in the hills, and then it would drop down in terms of mileage, and I'd go for elevation depending on the race. But like there was a long period where I was racing kind of long distance races, but they were a bit flatter, and then I went to the mountains. So then, like you say, now it is, I just have an elevation goal.
Yeah.
And it's arbitrary, but yeah, I'd be like, I think with elevation, you can just go, right, I just want to beat last year's elevation, whereas with distance, it's like you can't just keep beating last year's distance in volume wise, because it's not quality all the time. But yeah, elevation, like last year obviously is a shit show, but it's like it's quite like now, even like we're in January and you can go, right, well, now I can beat last year's.
Yeah, you've got some easy stats to work with, haven't you?
Exactly, yeah. And it's like last year I was like, fuck stats, I'm not interested in stats. That's because I couldn't do it.
The benchmark is very low, isn't it? So you're all right.
And then there'll be a lot of people out there when their stats tick over to zero because it's a new year. That's either a good thing or maybe it's not a good thing for some people. I don't know, because they've been building up their stats all year. Depends how you think, I guess.
Yeah. And just going back to the running every day thing, I quite like to see it on Strava, just like filling that void every day and without a break. I can usually do about 4 or 5 months actually, and I've never done a full year yet. I know some people have, and I'm always jealous because there's always a time where you're ill, you're injured, or you're travelling and you just can't fit it in. But I'll try and keep that run going as long as possible, but it all goes on there. And it's quite nice to see visually.
Good friend of mine, Owen, shout out to him. I'm doing a disservice here. He's done, might be 7 years. I don't know. He's thousands of days running every day.
Really? Over 7 years. Wow.
Yeah. He's so consistent, and he's like, and he's in the Navy, I think. Obviously a close mate. but yeah, and he does it. He just does it every day, and he doesn't, and it's something to celebrate, kind of thing. And he gets, I know he gets some shit for it because it's like you shouldn't be glamorizing running every day, but like that's his thing. He loves it.
Yeah, and I think it's whatever works for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no kind of rules that suit everybody. You just got to kind of find what works for you, and if it means just going out and doing 3 miles with the dog dead steady for one day, and that's you class that as a run, then that's fair enough, isn't it? As long as you're not going out and hammering it every day, you just got to find that balance, haven't you? But hey, speaking of Strava as well, I know we've talked about it a lot on the previous episodes and of course on this one. We were looking for who was running the Strava Wankers account on Twitter. Yeah. We found that person, haven't we?
Found them, yeah.
They've reached out to us. It's actually somebody we know very well, which explains why I was on there most weeks. But we are going to get that person on the podcast in the next few episodes. So
we're not going to let people know today, are we?
No, let's keep it as a surprise. I think we should ask
for guesses.
Yeah.
Because people have sent me messages in the past saying, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "No, it's definitely not me," kind of thing. Yeah, but I big fan of that account.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm excited, but I do think we should keep people guessing a little bit. Who is the king or queen of Strava Wankers?
Yeah, exactly. And as we said, that person is doing the full winter spine. So they're going to be tackling that. I think actually probably the time that this podcast goes out live, actually, they'll be doing the spine then. So we'll catch up with them afterwards just to find out what happened in that race.
Do they know that we're going to release the?
No, they've no idea. they'll be out somewhere on the moors, like freezing cold and wet and miserable, no doubt. And then
send them a message at like Greg's Hut or something near the end.
They can listen to this while they're doing it.
By the way.
Something to do when you've finished.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do the big reveal on an episode after the spine.
You'll see this. I'll make sure and I'm asking for guesses. I don't know how much time you'll have when this goes out, but guess who is the Strava Wanker, and it's we'll enjoy going over the guesses, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. Because it was a surprise to me, even though I know that person. So yeah, we'll come back to that one. But today's episode, is all about dogs, isn't it? Running with dogs. It's a dog's life because dogs.
I've got a list of car parks.
Oh shit! Wrong one.
Full of dogging.
You've done a lot of research on dogging and all the stories you've got on dogging.
Yeah.
Shit, you said to me I've got at least a few hours worth of like dogging stories. That makes sense now.
There is a car park not too far from us where we go trail running, and it is. I didn't warn you about this, but it's like. It's a renowned. Well, it is now a renowned dogging spot, but it's also a renowned meeting point for trail running as well.
Is that right?
Yeah, you've been
did
to
you combine the two?
Mulvermau.
Yeah,
yeah, it's near there. It's a little lay-by by there, and it is now. It is a top dogging spot. Yeah.
How'd you find these dogging spots out? Just word of mouth?
They found me. Just by chance. I mean, I went to a couple of 100 car parks every night, and just by chance found one.
Process of elimination.
Yeah. Just tick that one off.
I once went to it was near to like Filey in Scarborough with Kirsty in the van, and we were looking for somewhere to stay over one night. It is a like dogging related story, but we pulled into this car park and it was sort of off the beaten track, as should we say, and it was a really nice spot, and I was excited to find it because I thought this is going to be a great night's sleep. There was a few other cars in there at the time, but it looked pretty quiet and tranquil. And then just as I sort of pulled up, turned the engine off, the lights started flashing next to us. I'm not even lying either. I've never got out of there so fast in my life. Just put it in reverse and screeched off pretty quick. I mean, yeah, it was quite nerve-wracking. But
that could be an idea for an app. Maybe there is one. The dogging app.
There must be. Yeah, like a Tinder or Grindr or like just a dogging app. Yeah, find the best spots.
Anyway,
maybe
dogs.
Another episode. Yeah, so this is not about dogging, it's about dogs. So you might have to do some research on the fly here, Gary. But yeah, we're both big fans of dogs. We're both owners of dogs. We both run with our dogs. And I know that this sort of content is massively relatable to anybody listening to this podcast, because I know that if you are a runner and you have got a dog, you will probably love them as much as we do. So yeah, it's an ode to dogs.
Or you're in the other camp and you hate everyone that runs with dogs.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. We're at my house today filming the podcast again. My dogs are walking around. In fact, one of them's chewing one of Chris's camera lenses now. Actually, no, she's gone now, but he'll be coming back in a minute. I just wanted him to run across the room pretty quick. You're all right, you're safe. So they probably will feature. There we go. One's here. They will feature in the podcast at some point today because they get all over the place.
Chris has nearly sat on one there without knowing.
But Gary, why don't you introduce your dog first of all, mate? You've got a dog, haven't you?
Yeah, my dog is at the moment is Eric, so people will have seen him on Instagram. He is 15 months, I think, old, and he's the second dog I've had in adult life, and it's quickly I had to quickly remember, oh, it's a puppy kind of thing. Yeah. So like my old dog, the old people from Instagram will remember Fergie, and she was with me for like 10 years. Yeah. And she was in all my content and stuff like that, and it was weird because like she was, I put her through some horrendous, like I sent you the video of the highlights tonight.
It was great. It was a good watch.
So she was in a lot of my videos before I had a call it a big following, yeah. And she just, everyone says that dogs has a personality, don't they? And they've all got their own personality. So it was, so like we got her as a rescue at I think she was meant to be about 2 years old, and then anyway I'm a runner, I live in the mountains, I'm going to rescue this dog, it's going to be amazing. But we got the only dog I think from the rescue place that didn't want to run. So she was that scared. She wouldn't leave the garden, she wouldn't leave the house. We had to have loads of training, I had to do loads of work, but she was just scared of too many things. Like if a big crow would make a noise and she'd be off kind of thing. Yeah. As years went on, she got a little bit older and got a little bit kind of calmer around stuff, and you could take her on trail runs. And when I used to coach the big groups for work, it was that she would just be on every session. So, and it was just like Fergie was there, the group were there, and it was just accepted that she'd be part of it. And then we lost Fergie like 2 years ago, and it was we spoke about it briefly. It was really hard. Like I've not lost a dog in adult life. The last dog I lost was when I was a kid, basically, and it wasn't the same memories. But yeah, losing a dog that you've had for 10 years. yeah, it was rough, mate.
Oh, mate, I feel for you. And, you know, when people say, I understand your pain, like, genuinely, that I've been through it. And not too, similar sort of time. You know, the last couple of years, we lost our dog. She was, like, 13 years old, and it hits you like a train, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's probably the worst day of my life. And not even joking, I cried more when my dog went than when my dad died. And, not, you know, people might think that sounds dramatic, but I'm not even joking. Like, it really, really affected me quite badly. I was in a bad place after that.
You're like, yeah, it's one of those things. It's proper grief, isn't it? And I've been quite lucky in the fact that I haven't had many times where I've gone through grief, I don't think.
No.
But that, like you say, sobbing in the shower, going out running and stuff, and like within 5 days of it happening, we had to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And I was like crying at Disneyland, and stuff would set me off, and it was just like that for weeks on end. And that's, I think, like a lot of people said to me, like, obviously it's part of it and everything. It's like, actually, I'm all right with it, kind of thing. And it's if this podcast was a year ago, I probably wouldn't have been. No. I wouldn't have done it, kind of thing.
No.
But yeah, it was just timing wise. Kind of got through that. We had Winter, who was young at the time. It's like when you've got a kid as well. It was like trying to help her through it. And it was like, is it the right time to get another dog, or isn't it? But then you start doing the maths. What I really missed was running with a dog, kind of thing. Having some company on the solo runs. Most of my runs are solo. Fergie did it for about 10 years. The last year, she couldn't get out on runs properly, and then it was walks. So we just didn't have it. And then I was like, well, I'd quite like some company. I miss having a dog. But then you're going to have to wait about a year for it to grow up, and we're going to go down the line of having a puppy this time, kind of thing, just because of family stuff. And it was like, right, okay, so... And it just happened to be, it was a friend of a friend, it was a farmer friend. We've got this unplanned litter. They're collies. I've always had collies since I was a kid. Yeah. It was just timing, really. It was like, right, let's go and get this dog. And I went to the Peak District to meet the guy. His son's a really good fell runner, actually. That's how I knew them. And it's one of those things. Oh, I'll come and have a look.
Yeah, that's a commitment straight away.
That's what I was telling.
You're coming back with a dog.
Charlotte. I'll just go and have a look because he said it's like a red merle, and these merles are meant to be a bit crazy and all that kind of thing. Obviously, it went. It's like, oh yeah, Mum and Dad are great dogs. We're going to pick him up in 6 weeks. So that's how it come about, to be honest. And now and again, it's been really good because as he's got to an age where he can get out and run, kind of thing, I've been able to run a bit more. So we've been in tandem, really. He needs the exercise, obviously, young collie, sheepdog. And I've been able to run more, and it's been really good. Yeah, I've had to learn a lot of things. Like, you'll be able to school me on, or maybe not. But like, he's got a Canicross belt and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I never had that with Fergie. She was off lead, never leave my side. If there's a group of us, she'd be constantly rounding us up doing the sheepdog thing. Whereas Eric's a young dog. He's off if you kind of thing. Yeah. So. But yeah, like you've got terriers, so a bit different, right? Yeah,
a bit different. I mean, I suppose I'm different to any other fell runner who's not got a sheepdog called Joss for a start, because that's the standard, isn't it? Are you really a fell runner if you've not got a sheepdog called Joss? So yeah, I've got 2 Patterdale cross terriers. So the Patter Jacks, actually, the last dog we had that we lost, similar to Fergie with you, was Molly, and I just loved the dog. Like ran with her every single day, just loved being around her. I think that you get so attached to them because they're so dependent on you, aren't they? That's the thing.
I think it's an age thing as well. It's like, obviously we've got Fergie, who's just me and Charlotte, then you have one kid come along, another one, but it's like that 10 years, 11 years of I'm a different person now, and you start remembering like when you first got the dog and stuff like that. A lot of memories are attached to the dog, kind of thing. Like, and you'll have had the same. It's like it is a family member, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely a family member, because they're with you all the time. And our dogs, don't judge me, people who are watching this. I know I'm going to alienate half the people, and probably 90% of the people watching this, but they do sleep in the bed with us, or on the bed, in, out, up, down. Sometimes wake up and Pete's balls are on my head, or Luna's on my pillow.
Pete's the dog.
Pete's the dog, yeah. Or is he?
Another reveal.
Another reveal. But you just get really attached to them, and I mean, I can hear them now just sort of fighting underneath. This is the thing about terriers; they're absolutely mental. So when I say I've tried to train them, they just do whatever the fuck they want. They really do. But I remember after we lost Molly, I thought to myself, I can't go through this again. Like I can't lose another dog. I can't feel like this again. And then 4 days later, we went and got Luna. Like, I couldn't live without a dog. Like, it's weird. I honestly went full circle in almost
Quickly.
24 hours because the hole that she left was so big.
Yeah.
And she was such a small dog, but the house felt empty. Kirsty's kids had moved out, so we were rattling around the rooms, and I thought, I'm going to have to get another dog. So we went to pick her up from Durham. I ended up buying her from this gypsy. Like, we turned up to this house, and she's not a rescue dog, but I felt like I did rescue her from this house.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's been brilliant. She's absolutely nuts. But just instantly, it just felt right again. And I wasn't trying to replace Molly, because you can never replace that dog. But because they're all different, aren't they? But I think that's the thing. They're just like people for me.
That's what I thought for a long time. It's like, I don't really like. Well, one, it was like, don't know if I can go through that again. It was the whole like taking it to the vet and all that kind of stuff. It was horrendous, but. And it's not that you're trying to replace the dog. It's just that, like I said, I missed running with a dog kind of thing. I could have borrowed a dog, to be honest, every day, and it probably would have been all right. But it's I think it always makes me like think about like when like you've got the terriers, and like I've only had. I always think it's weird how people stick to a
breed.
Yeah, like people stick to a brand with their sheep.
It is, isn't it? It really is.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because Charlotte was going, you're not getting another sheep. We're not getting another sheepdog, are you? Like, kind of thing. She was open to the fact of getting a dog. She was like, can we not just get a nice cockapoo that's going to sit on the sofa and like everyone else's normal family can have? Like, and I was like. Yeah, but you can have one of them, but I'm gonna have to get a sheepdog. It's just all I've known. Yeah, it is weird.
I mean, they're good running dogs, aren't they, sheepdogs? I mean, what do you think is the best running dog, or would you say is a sheepdog? Because
don't know. I think considering we're doing a dog episode, I keep going and call it dog a dog episode. I don't think we're the best people to ask because, like I say, Fergie was like a. She didn't run with me. She didn't do. She ran with me, but she didn't do Canicross or anything like that. She was just there, kind of thing. Yeah. And she was her own thing. And you could stick her in a field of dogs, and she'd be away from the other dogs. She wasn't interested. Whereas I quickly realised, like with Eric now, he's young, and you stick a Canicross belt on him and lead and stuff, and harness, and it is great for him. But like. He's having a piss every 5 seconds. He's wrapping me around trees. He's pulling me into things. I'm like, this is not what it looks like on all these people on Instagram. It's like, what?
This is not polished content, is it?
No, exactly. It's like, and I'm not. I don't know about you, but I'm not. Maybe I'll change my mind, but I'm not that. I don't think I'm going to go to a Canicross race with him. No, I just like running with a dog.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah,
and I know when people are watching this, and I think it's best you watch this episode because we've got our dogs now in it, and they're all over the place. On me. Yet Pete gets everywhere, so yeah, I won't be surprised if he's there soon. But you can see that my dogs are quite mental, but they're amazing running dogs. Honestly, like Pete, who's the youngest, he could go for hours and hours. I mean, I don't run him for hours now because he's only a small dog, but he's brilliant. He's amazing, as is Luna as well. So in terms of having a dog for running, I mean, people will naturally assume that a sheepdog or that kind of breed would be the best. Whereas for me, I've found that the reason I've stuck with this breed is that they're great to run with, they're great company. We travel a lot in the camper van.
Too much room in the bed.
Don't take up much room in the bed. That is actually a factor as well. The shits aren't too big to pick up either. But they go well in the camper van. They travel really well. Like I said, she's almost like a little gypsy dog because she's a great little traveller. But they're just all around for me. They work for our lifestyle. But then you do get the fact that they are absolutely nuts and mental. So they'll fight pretty much 80% of the time. I'm dreading the Amazon guy knocking on the door now, because they'll just go nuts. It'll set these two off. Or if a nemesis dog walks past the window, that'll set them off as well. But I think, I wouldn't just, if you were watching or listening to this episode and thinking, I might get a dog, or I've been thinking about getting one for running, terrier's actually really good.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, like you say, you can take them. Like you say, when you took them to the van, you're travelling around France and all that in the hills and everything. It's different. You can't. I mean, I'm sure you can, but if you've got like a Weimaraner or whatever, and it's but I think any breed can be good for running with. It's different when you're doing Canicross, I imagine. I mean,
that's when it gets a bit more serious.
Maybe we need to get a Canicross expert on, because as soon as I put on, like, I'd got the Canicross harness on Instagram. The amount of messages I was getting from Canicross lovers, enthusiasts and racers, like, amazing, you've come over to Canicross. And it's like, I haven't really. I've been running with dogs since I had dogs longer than I was running, kind of thing. But it's a whole different thing. I quickly realised they're all cheating. Fuckers. Because it's like I've got a dodgy calf and all of a sudden I'm running 10 seconds a kilometre quicker because Eric's pulling me along. It's like,
who needs super shoes, eh?
No, I know.
Just get a dog.
Literally, it's not up the hills. Every uphill, that's when he takes his time as a person. He's doing all sorts. But yeah, on the flat, obviously he's picking up speed and I'm flying.
Is that why you've got all the course records around your
Still
area?
Can't get them, mate. So I need to,
local legend.
That's a fitness thing. I'm pulling on a bungee. Slow down, mate.
But we should do an episode in the future on Canicross. We'll get Jacob Tonkin on, because I know that he's big into it. I know we've talked about him before.
He's too famous.
He's quite famous, isn't he? He might not come down to our level, might he?
Yeah.
But I know he's pretty serious about it. But I'm the same as you. I've not got the dogs because I'm wanting to compete with them or go to competitions with them. I just want to run with them. I just want some company, and I go out every day with them. And I don't run with anybody else really, apart from Kirsty and the dogs. And there's nothing more than than going for a run, going up onto the moors, for example, letting them off the lead and just watching them just run around, because it does give you like a little bit of a heart melt moment when you see how happy they are. And
especially when you get back as well, you get back and it could be freezing and wet and all that, because I had it the other day, and like Eric had like those, like when there's ice literally all under his belly and all that kind of thing, and you wash him off in the garden and I'm freezing, he's freezing, and then you like go and have a shower, come down into the kitchen and he's half asleep like that, and you're like, all right, mate. It's like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Kind of thing. It's like, it's just a dog. He's gone for his run. Now he's having a sleep, but it's like mutual respect. It's like, good one, that, wasn't it? It's like, 'cause I don't get it from the missus or anything. She doesn't give a shit.
That is so true. I can completely relate to that. There's nothing better than having the fire on a night when the dogs have both been for a run, they've both been bathed or showered, you're watching the football, having a pint, sat relaxing, and they're relaxed. It's just a great feeling, isn't it? It's like we can just have a nice quiet night.
She always, like Charlotte will say, I'm like the dog, because like you need to get out, kind of thing, or you just get out for your run and that kind of thing, and it's because you're happier, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. Dogs taking dogs for a walk, isn't it, or a run? Definitely.
I always felt, I'm learning it with Eric now, but I had a favourite route with Fergie, and it literally was named Fergie's Run. I still call it that now, and it's like a little loop that we used to do, and it's because, like you said, like we was talking about, I could do that run every day and it was no stress, kind of thing, but it was also good for her because it was just getting out. Have you got like a favourite route or anything that you do, and it's like the dog route for no real reason other than it's like it's just developed that way? Yeah,
absolutely. I've got one that's just around Freshfield Quarry, which is just down the road from here. I mean, I use that one because it's a good distance and a good time. So it's about an hour to get around the full thing at their pace, but also it's like the safe zone, because I like to let them off the lead. But once I let Pete off, for example, I mean, he's on the edge of the sofa now, I think you can just see him in the shot. He's just nuts. He just goes off, chases rabbits. He always comes back, but he just does whatever he wants, as does Luna. So I know that on that route, there's different places where I can let him off and not worry too much, because like I'll literally turn my back and it's a bit like that sketch off Little Britain where you've got Lou and Andy and one's looking after the other, and like I don't know which was which. I think Andy's the carer, and he turns round and the guy's like on top of the diving board behind him. And that's what Pete's like. As soon as you take your eye off him for a minute, he's somewhere where he shouldn't be or doing something he shouldn't be doing. So that particular route around the quarry, I know that it's like a safe route and I can relax and actually enjoy the run. And I've got another one that goes on Threshfield Moor as well, and for the same reasons, like it's a safe route, because if I take him anywhere else, it's an absolute nightmare.
And that's, like you say, it helps with the consistency and the getting out and going, and those little runs add up kind of thing. And it's like, I've got to take the dogs out. It's a nice easy run, the dogs know what they're doing, it's like no stress. I can listen to a podcast or whatever, or just trot round, and you know you're going to be back that amount of time. Nothing's going to put you off route or anything like that. And like, I used to love those runs, and that's part of the ones where I really like. It's just 45 minutes, you just switch your brain off, the dog's doing whatever, and that's it, kind of thing. But if you do 2, 3, 4 of them a week outside your sessions, that's kind of...
Oh, it builds up.
That's just it, isn't it? That's how you build it up.
Do you go in the forest? You've got a forest near you, haven't you?
Yeah, so I live on the edge of the forest, and... I either do one or two things. Like, more recently now, I'll just literally go out the back door into the forest, and because he's on a harness and everything. Couldn't do that with Fergie because she was always off lead. She wasn't great on the lead, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I just had a slip lead with her. So I'd take her up the mountain where I could let her off, and you'd learn where the sheep were. Anywhere near the sheep, you just have to put it on, obviously. But yeah, she'd be happy there, so I had her route. But now Eric's kind of got his own little route now, because I've quickly realised, because of his age as well, he likes going off and sniffing. So I've got a route at the minute it's on the wide, like fire trail, because then he'll just run more. Yeah. Whereas if I take him down the single track stuff and everything, it's like, you're getting nowhere quick. I'm tangled up, he's tangled up, he's pulling you off in all different directions just because of his nose, kind of thing. So it'll be right, is this run for me or is this for Eric? If it's for Eric, I'll just take him on the single track and he can sniff whatever he wants. If it's for me, you're coming on the fire trail, mate, because I don't want you off sniffing every 5 seconds. Yeah, you've
got to find what works for you, haven't you? And like kind of understand your dog. And I think that's just spending time with them, isn't it? And learning the little traits that they've got. I've got these two pretty much dialed in now. But then and again, they'll surprise me and do something random, like Pete's.
When they're out together, are they running together, or are they off doing their own things?
Yeah, but both really. Sometimes they run together. She likes to chase him and kind of, because Pete's in an abusive relationship, and she just batters him every day. So she just chases him around, rags him, and he's usually running away from her. But he just likes to do his own thing, to be honest. They're both very different though. So like, we'll go for a really nice run for an hour, and she'll have to find the perfect patch of grass to have a wee or, take a dump. Whereas Pete, I'll literally take him on a beautiful run, and we'll come back and we'll cross the main road, and he will sit in the middle of the main road and just drop one and stop in traffic. And I've got to wait for him to do it, and I'm literally just both hands out either side, stopping traffic on the main road while I pick up his poo. And I'm trying to work out how many hours of my life I spend just running around carrying bags of Pete's shit. It's a lot more than I'd say I run around without a bag of shit in my hand. I don't know if you have the same.
Eric's never done a shit on a run yet, really. He's still, he does it in the bottom of the garden, happy days, and he'll do it in the field, and I'll pick it up there. But I haven't witnessed on a trail run yet. I'm sure it'll happen, but it's this time of year is perfect, I think, because when it's raining and everything, it's obviously not great, but hard frost is perfect shit time. It's like,
that is the optimum temperature for picking.
The garden's just glistening with a few Yankee candles. It's like, I'll pick them up today, no worries. when it's hard rain and mud, like, get out there, Charles. Have you picked that shit up yet?
I'm glad it's not just at your house, then happens at mine as well. Definitely.
Yeah, I always call it Yankee candle weather. If it's hard frost, I'm first out, pick them up. I think they just launch them over next doors.
Brilliant. I'll tell you what, as well, my two are so well travelled for such young dogs as well. Pete's just over 1, she's just over 2. Like Luna, the small one, she's, I mean, surprising because she looks like the youngest. I mean, actually, Billy Cartwright thought I brought my cat to a fell race once when I brought her because she is tiny. But she's 2, he's 1. But they've been to already. She's been to 8 different countries. Pete's been to 6. They've both got passports. And one thing I thought I'd mention on, because I don't know if your dog's got a passport.
Not yet.
No.
We were talking about that actually. Yeah.
And this is probably the most useful information that, of this episode. But if you're going to go abroad with your dogs or thinking about going abroad with your dogs, because it's very expensive to take them outside of the UK. You have to pay to get an animal health certificate, which can be anything up to £200 is what I paid for Pete's. So every single time you leave the UK without a passport, you have to take the hit on that, and it's a pain in the arse. The vets hate doing it. Either side, in either country, foreign country or our country. So the process is rubbish. It's expensive, especially if you've got 2 dogs. So what we did is we paid for it first of all to get them into Europe, and then when we've been to Spain, we've had them registered with the local vets in an area of Spain that we travel a lot to, and they've both got passports, which you pay for, obviously, like, say, 150 quid or maybe a bit less, but then they've got a passport for life. So these two have got more rights in Europe than me, you, Chris, anybody who's probably listening to this podcast, which is mad. So they're both on Spanish passports, but God, it's saved us so much money.
I mean, you can't just shove these 2 in the glove box.
You probably could. If they weren't so bloody yappy, I could. Yeah, but this one's just like so noisy that it'd be a nightmare. But yeah, I mean, that's been really useful for me. Because it's obviously saved me a lot of money. But if you're listening to this podcast and you're wanting to go travelling with your dogs and you're thinking about doing it often, I would definitely recommend getting them out into Europe on an initial animal health certificate, but then getting them a passport.
Then get a passport.
Yeah. You do need an address actually out there, but I used a local campsite, got friendly with the owner, and he let me use the address of that. And then, they've got the passports for life. All you have to do is keep up with your rabies jabs every 2 years. So a good excuse to go back out into Europe.
You or the dog?
Both. So Luna's is due March, so I'm going to have to go back at some point. Even if I nip to France, I'm back just to get the rabies jab topped up. And you also, when you're travelling back, you have to get a worming tablet for them, like within 4 days of travelling back. So you've got to factor that in as well. But every vet will do it in Europe, and you've got to pay for it. It's not much, but you've just got to factor that in when you're coming back from Europe, and dial that into your travelling plans. But apart from that, love taking them in the van. I don't know if you're thinking about doing that with Eric.
Yeah, well, I was until you just talked about it. Brexit again.
Yeah, it's another reason why we shouldn't have left Europe, isn't it?
This is what they should have listed before everyone bloody voted. Like, do you realise that your dog is going to...
That'd have been a big thing, wouldn't it? That would have been a
votes,
big factor.
Yeah, well, they didn't. Well, yeah,
definitely.
Don't know enough about it.
but these two have done more travelling than most normal people, I'd say. So they're living a charmed life, really.
So then they're not green doggers, then.
They're definitely not green doggers. Although I suppose I'm travelling around in the van, and when I do go out there, I go for a few weeks, which it'll be a big tick for the green runners. If I'm going out to Chamonix to UTMB, I usually drive out and then do the holiday at the same time. Yeah. So I'm not doing like loads of different flights. I'm kind of staying out for.
What's it like when you're in the van? Do you have to, because I guess you have to time everything around it and all that kind of thing. Is it different to when you're at home? Is it more stressful having the dogs with you, or is it all right?
Yeah, it can be. If I'm on my own, it's stressful. But with...
Because I remember when I was, like, when we were trying to meet up in Chamonix and stuff, and it was like, I've got the dog, so I've got to walk the dog and stuff like that. And I guess it's even more intense if you're just in the van.
Yeah, especially when the weather's bad as well, because you've got to take them out, especially in the morning, and sometimes you don't want to leave the van, and you can't just ask them to, like, piss in a cup. You've got to actually take them out. So yeah, that's bad when the weather's bad. But then also, if you have got, like you said, something to do, and I was working in Chamonix, working in the loosest sense, and Kirsty was also working out there remotely. There are times when you both have, one of you has to look after the dog. So I'd have to take him with me to an event, or I'd have to charm the hotel staff to look after him, which actually having 2 really cute dogs helps. Because people really like looking after them, and when they're quiet and settled like this, they're great. They're not always like this, by the way. So if anyone's thinking of a Patterdale or a Patterjack Terrier, like, bear in mind this now happens about, I would say, 30% of the time. The other 75% other 70% of the time.
We've been
they're
here
just-
a while now, though, haven't they? So they've
Yeah,
settled.
they settled
It's took
now.
a while.
The other 70% of the time, they're just running around the house, tear-arsing around, barking, yapping. So yeah, that's why I run them quite a lot, and that's why when they're settled, I make the most of it.
Do you ever get that thing when you were saying being out and about then, I was thinking, because it happened to me yesterday, if you're out on a trail or you're out anywhere, to be honest, someone with their dog will come towards you, but I'll like give a nod or a smile to the dog, and I've like not the owner at all. You're just like, oh, there's a nice dog, and you're like, you're literally like smiling at dogs.
Definitely, it's more of a dog appreciation, isn't it? Rather than no one cares about the owner.
Yeah, like the dog
will,
will, especially if it's off lead. It's like 10 meters in front of something. You're all right, mate. He's like, you just run past the guy or whatever.
I don't know what Eric's like with other dogs. He's probably pretty good, I would imagine.
Yeah, he just wants to play, doesn't he? At that age, yeah.
These two want to play, especially Pete. Pete loves other dogs, whereas Luna, you don't really know what you're going to get. I mean, she's tiny, as you can see on the camera, but she'll have a go at like massive dogs. Like she would like bark at a Rottweiler, and you think you're picking the wrong battle here, mate. Like, so I'm a bit wary sometimes because if I'm approaching another dog, I don't know how she's going to react, and if she's off the lead, she's better, but then she might just get eaten. So I have to be careful. But then there's been a couple of times where. In fact, there's a neighbour who lives 2 doors down who had this dog, called it Eeyore off Winnie the Pooh because it looked like the donkey Eeyore. So you just mope around this little spaniel. But this spaniel was quite old and it had a heart condition, serious heart condition. So this woman down the road, she'd walk it every day, but not very far. And for some reason, Luna and my old dog Molly just hated this dog. Like I don't know why they hated it. They just hated it. So when they saw it walking around, they'd just go mental at the kitchen window, or they'd be barking and running around the garden. And then one day, I was out just putting some recycling out, and I was talking to this lady down the road with the dog, and asking her how the dog was, and like I knew it was on its last legs, and she was pretty upset about it. And then all of a sudden, Luna just like jumped over the wall and started battering this dog, and I'm thinking, oh my god, this is going to be the end of this bloody dog. She's fucking killed it. So I had to just like pick her up. I mean, thankfully she's small enough to pick up, but I just never know how they're going to react. That's the thing again with terriers, they're just nuts.
Funny enough, yeah, I think that it's the same with humans though. Like Fergie was she's quite selective with the humans she'd like. There was a couple, in the old house where we lived, there was one particular family that she just did not like. No. Yeah, and they're it was like you'd have to cross the road because she would bark like literally you're taking your arm off kind of thing, and it's yeah, I'm not going to say it's dog racism, but it was like she just singled this family out, and it was like that
pounded them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd have to cross the road. There was no point in trying to go round. It was just like it'd be certain people, and it's that old saying, I'd rather trust a dog kind of thing than there's definitely some. And then you're like, there's definitely something wrong with that family. It's like based on nothing apart from your
the fact that the
stupid dog barking at people. Where have their names come from then?
So Luna took us about, I'd say 2 weeks before we settled on Luna. It was almost like, when you, well, I don't know because I've not got my own kids, but I imagine when you're having kids, you sort of draw up a list of names, you narrow it down, you both do a list, and you kind of like cross-reference.
And then she chooses.
So ultimately, Kirsty chose. But we were going to call her Vera because we got her from the northeast, and there's that TV program, and I thought Vera would have been quite a cool name. But we ended up with Luna, and so I quite like Luna as a name. But it took us 2 weeks to think about it, and then Pete took us 2 minutes. Like Kirsty suggested it, and I was like, let's just go for it.
Pete.
In fact, Pete, Stinky Pete, we're going to call him. My granddad's also a Pete, which is quite nice. He's not a Stinky Pete, but I did tell him, and he loved the fact that I'd named my dog after him. I named him Stinky Pete as an affectionate nickname, but he is actually the smelliest little terrier ever. So he's like lived up to the name. It's almost like he's punishing me now for it.
He's rubbing it in your face.
He will, literally, and he will roll in like fox shit. He'll find the smelliest like thing to roll in or dive in when we're out on a run. So 9 out of 10 times I have to come back and have to bath him because he does stink. But I've got a lot of nicknames for the dogs. Have you got some for Eric?
Yeah. Like with Fergie, at first it was, thinking of names, and because we hadn't had kids, it was like, well, I was thinking of names, and it was like, Charlotte's going, well, do you not want that to be the kid's name kind of thing? And it's
Use that
don't
one
want
up.
to waste a name on a kid. So I was like, okay, yeah. So we literally just went down the football line. I was obviously a big Man United fan, and Fergie was named after, even though it's a she, just named after him. So that's where Fergie's from, and it was... but like everyone would... At the time, it was like, what's the name from Fergie
Peas.
the singer, Black Eyed Peas? Everyone's going... What, from the Black Eyed Peas? I'm like, obviously not. But then Alex Ferguson's just as ridiculous, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, that was that. And then Eric is King Cantona, yeah. So quite easy, to be honest. But the nicknames creep in as they're older. Like it's like nicknames with lads. So it seems to be Eric, Ezra, and then they start morphing into something
Snowballs,
else.
isn't it?
Yeah,
I've got some cringeworthy ones.
I haven't yet. Like my daughter Winter has. It's like you're like, what is that? What are you talking like? Yeah, Ezra McNezza, McSnezza, that kind of thing. It's like, and it's like you say, it's just added, a bit's been added on kind of thing, and it's But I've just stuck with Eric so far. Yeah,
I like that, mate. I like the fact it's a normal name as well.
And we always liked. That's right. Like Pete, both me and Charlotte always liked it when it was a human name on a dog kind of thing. Quite like that. Just no other reason. So yeah, Fergie and Eric are Man United, to be honest.
I saw quite a funny, I think it was a Facebook sort of meme, and it was like things that have got worse since Fergie left. And I know you were really upset when Fergie left you. Football. So Man United is one. The other one was Black Eyed Peas. The other one was Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit controversial there, but I just like.
I don't think it's controversial. I think it's the opposite of controversial.
But also going back to stupid names as well, I've got loads for these two, and I use them all as well. So we've got Luna Tuna, Tuna Chops, Luna Tuna Chops, Tunes, Loons, and then Pete's got loads as well. So Pete Meister General, Petester, P Diddy. I'm not really allowed to use that one much these days. That's sort of gone by the wayside. And Diddy, I've dropped that one now as well. And Your Pete, I always like to say that one as well. So I've got loads of stupid ones for them. Mr. Peetleton.
And you wonder why he behaves like a dickhead.
It's all been forced upon him. Yeah. It's the upbringing, isn't it? Yeah. Nature versus nurture.
Yeah, that's it.
That settles that debate, doesn't it? But I mean, dogs.
I googled before, but quickly, the top 10 most popular names in the UK. I'm going to see how many you can tick off. See how many you can get.
I reckon Luna's on there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Luna is on there.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most popular ones, actually. I don't know, everyone seemed to call the dog Luna for some reason, didn't they? And I jumped on that bandwagon.
It's a nice name, though. I hadn't really heard of it for dog, even though, because I was going to say, on most popular dog names, came up as number 9. There's Buddy at 10, then Luna, Bailey, Teddy.
Is Ben on there? Because that used to be, like, sheepdogs were always called Ben or Joss.
No, not here, but I think there's probably, it's just, depends where you live, I guess, doesn't it? Milo, Max, Lola, Daisy, Bella. Number 1 is Charlie. And
Really?
I'm married to a Charlie, so I'm not going to go down that route. We're past the first episode now, so she stopped listening.
They're quite nice names, though. I bet that'd be interesting to compare those with like popular kids' names.
Well, I was going to say, they're more... Yeah, I'm going to say more normal than actual kid names. I mean, I'm probably including mine there, but... Like
Stella,
Paris.
And,
some of them these days.
Paris is a nice name, actually, but you know what I mean.
But they're
Phoenix Chi, that sort of thing.
They are more normal. I was expecting some more random ones, I guess.
Yeah, I've come across quite a few random names when I was teaching. I probably shouldn't say on air because obviously people might be listening and might know, but there were some absolute shockers, honestly. You just wonder what drugs like the parents were on when they named them.
Yeah, well, Charlotte was in teaching. She worked in a private school, so it was like another level of weird names as well.
There was one kid and he had like the same surname as his first name, which I just found really weird.
Like a Neville.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Do you think you can tell which wine shop parents go to by what their children are named?
Definitely where they're shopping or where they're holidaying. I think, yeah.
Thresher. There's no
Or
Thresher.
what season they were conceived. Yeah,
It's hard to get just a normal name these days, I guess. Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, I mean, dogs just a huge part of our lives, aren't they? And I think probably a huge part of anybody who's listening to this who's got a dog will kind of relate to this episode, because they're just great training partners out there, great to run with, great to be around, and life changing. But you've got to put the time in as well, haven't you? That's the thing. They are like having kids, aren't they?
Yeah, like obviously you've got like the training at the beginning. It's all exciting and everything. We did that bit, and then you've like the training actually out and about is different again. Like he's like with Eric now, he's already a lot better around sheep. Obviously, he's always on a lead before I get cancelled. But you're obviously going to meet sheep and stuff where I live, and it's a lot of it is on the lanes or something. So I will, like, if there's sheep in the field, I'll let him go and have a sniff now, because he's just a bit more like sticking his nose up and having a look rather than trying to jump the fence when he was a bit younger, kind of thing. So you do have to put the work in, and it's. But yeah, I just think. I forgot what it was like having such a young dog. So I'm literally on the trail, and you think you're having a nice easy run or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, he loves birds more than anything.
Yeah.
It's that must be his thing. So if there's a bird in the sky, he's trying to chase it. If there's a bird just come out, we have like a lot of like low-lying ones kind of come out the bushes and stuff.
Anything that moves.
Yeah, if anything moves and comes out, I am off. I'm doing, I am sprinting kind of thing, because I'm attached to him, obviously. But having that long Canicross stuff, I forget as well. So you like open a gate or whatever, and next thing you know, I'm completely wrapped up around a lamppost and he's tied up. Or we've had loads of trees down recently. He goes and jumps the tree, but then forgets that I'm attached and I have to climb over the tree. So I've had a couple where I've literally head planted into a branch or something, because I'm on a bungee with him. So I'm still learning just as much as him, mate.
You must have some funny stories though with him, like.
Yeah, like so already some like, and just. Yeah, they don't know, do they? Whereas, again, like if you've had a dog for X amount of time, you know exactly what they can and can't do, where they can and can't go, all that kind of stuff. Whereas me and Eric, like, we're still learning in what we're doing, to be honest, with this Canicross lead. So I'm like having to pick him up to go round stuff, and because he's still learning, like, get over the stile, mate. Whereas when Fergie was young, she'd just jump over it. Yeah. And like, oh, actually, and then he did do it, and then again I forgot he was attached to me, so he was stuck on one side, I was stuck on the other side, trying to get this bungee correct so I could get out. And it's just like, if anyone come round now, he's literally all 4 feet off the floor, but he's on a harness, so he's all right. He was just there
dangling,
and I'm trying to climb over a gate, but it was tangled. It was like, we've only left the house 5 minutes ago. But yeah,
when you go into the pet store, I noticed that there is everything in this world that you can buy for dogs, probably even more so than kids.
Yeah.
What equipment do you find particularly useful when you go out with your dogs? Or what kind of stuff would you suggest people?
Well, I don't know if it's useful or not. I'll come on to the useful stuff in a minute, but they've both got lead shirts for a start. I just wanted him to make sure they supported the right club, from the off really, and didn't give him a choice. So Pete does watch most games now. But then when we go out running, got a harness for them both. Got like a lead as well that stretches a little bit, which is quite good. So when you're first taking them out and they're pulling, at least it's got a little bit of like give on it. Loads of poo bags. And then I've also, if I'm going for a long run with them both, I'll take one of those in my backpack. Like it's a collapsible bowl. It's like a plastic bowl, so you can just pop it out. Yeah. So I always take some water because they do a lot of running abroad as well. So they'll go up like some serious mountains, these two. So I always take some snacks with them. But that's the best way to kind of make sure they get enough water. Take some water with me from my soft flask, and I can put it into this like collapsible bowl. So that's probably the best thing I use, if I'm totally honest.
It's funny, like you'll take. I remember taking out. I haven't done it yet with Eric as much, but I will be once the weather gets a bit better. Maybe like up in like you say, up in the hills, and And yeah, a lot of the time you know that there's water and stuff, but I used to take like an extra 500ml just in case, and that was like reserved for Fergie kind of thing. And it was like I'm giving her this nice water, and it's like, what am I, like the next thing you know what dogs are drinking out of? It's like drinking out of this stagnant pond. I'm like, get out of there, kind of thing. I'm just giving you some nice fresh water. And it's like,
do you ever do that thing as well where you'll go for a nice meal somewhere, and if you say you get steak, for example, you'll save like all the offcuts and bring it back for the dog, but you have to be the one that gives it to them, so they love you more than your partner. Yeah.
Well, I used to be like exactly like that. I'd be the one. No, I'll give her the fat. But now it's like my daughter wants to do the treat stuff for the dog, so yeah, she'll give the fat off the steak. I'm not a big fan of the fat on the steak and stuff. So even if at home, there was a bit of salmon at Christmas kind of thing, he had that, and she chopped it up nicely and everything, and then laid it out into his bowl. Like it was like, so that's my. Yeah, I'm down the pecking order now, mate.
Oh, but down there, mate. That's the thing. You accept that, don't you? When a dog comes into your life, you one less on this kind of like ranking system, aren't you, at home?
Going back to equipment and stuff. I had to kit the car out differently. So like with like Fergie, it would like I could just chuck her in anywhere, and she would either she could sit on the back seat, or she'd sit in the boot quite happily and just go to sleep, kind of thing. Although when we first picked her up, I remember like she just threw up everywhere, and then we rang the rescue centre and was like, what is this dog all right, kind of thing? He's just been throwing up everywhere. She goes, we don't know if it's ever been in the car, because someone just left her with us, and then she's never been in a car. I was like, oh right, you didn't want to tell us that, kind of thing. She threw up all the way home.
Surprising.
Yeah, so I thought it might be the same when I picked Eric up, but obviously when it's a puppy it's different.
Just get used to it straight away.
Exactly, just let him out a few times, and he's quite quickly got used to the car, but obviously got it's caged and everything now. For him, because he's a puppy, isn't he? So when we picked him up, he wasn't big enough to obviously get out of the boot, and then quite quickly he was. And I remember taking the kids and him somewhere. We're going to go for a nice family walk. As soon as we got off the drive, he was stuck, 2 legs over the front, 2 legs over the back, and he's like just kicking off bark, and I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, you've quickly realised, okay, I need to kit out the car properly, I need to kit him out properly, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I actually got matching dry robes as well for these two, because Kirsty's got like a camouflage dry robe with a pink inside, so I got Luna a matching one as well. I mean, yeah, they look great when they're out together.
That was going to be mine, was the dry robes with our dog.
Brilliant.
They seem to get so wet under their tummies, don't they? The big wrap underneath.
Because me and Chris live in the same village. Have you seen the Alsatian that goes out full? He's basically a full kit wanker dog, and he takes it to the same field as mine. And this dog, big Alsatian, like they look, whether they are or not, they look big and hard and scary, don't they? He's got a different colour one, and it's like big. It's literally from the dog's ankle or wrist, whichever one. Full kit, even up above the ears. I've not even seen it on another dog before, and the guy said, so I don't have to wash him for half an hour when I get back. But I mean, it's literally like it's full on dry robe. It's not just.
Sounds like a shit excuse to me, doesn't it?
Exactly, it's just an Alsatian's head popping out the top of it. Yeah.
Poor dog.
Sounds like a boil in the bag dog to me. I mean, if he's the guy I'm thinking of, he's never going to listen to this, so we can say what we like. I mean, I've seen the LEDs on the outside of his house, and that's not just for Christmas. So I think we can make our own mind up there, can't we? Just so something I wanted to say, I mean, Gary, you know, but Ben, you won't. I lost my dog 6 weeks ago, and it has been really tough. And when Ben sent through the notes of what we were going to be discussing today, and I saw that it was this, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit through this. And it's quite heartwarming to know that what I'm going through right now is what you guys have clearly gone through. And us men are really, really rubbish at talking about our feelings and stuff. And, you know, you talk about crying in the shower and stuff. And it's true, they are a massive part of you. And I could never, ever have prepared for losing our dog Tess. No, he did, but somebody said something recently, and if anybody does go through anything like this, is remember how they lived, not how they died. And when I get a little bit upset in the moment, that is something that I really try and remember, not the last 24 hours, which were, as you said, Ben, just the most horrific experience ever. But I had 8 wonderful years of it. She was 13, but 8 of those years were with me, and definitely, if I can pass anything on, is just think about those times, not the end.
And you end up doing that, like I say, when it first happens, like all I could think of was going to the vet and them saying take her home for the weekend and then bring her in on Monday and all that kind of stuff, and it's like I just didn't know how I was going to do that again. But yeah, I think I probably had it, although it was horrible, especially for my daughter Winter, it was also an advantage as well, because she was so upset. I had to tell her, it's like, well, think about all the good memories we had and all that kind of thing, and it probably helped me as well. Like when it happened, one of my friends in running, Sam, he basically rang me up, and because he'd lost a dog as well, and he goes, "Oh, meet me for a run," and he's literally on the south coast kind of thing, and we met in mid Wales, and it was the week before Christmas, probably the Saturday before Christmas, and I really didn't want to, but he was like, "Oh, come for a run. I'll drive up, stay in the van, and we'll just get out for a few hours," kind of thing. So, and it was really good actually, but I mentioned it to you on the message. I'd had the stress for about a week of knowing she was getting more and more sick, and you could see what was happening, and I was having to like carry this 20 kilo, not massive, but 20 kilos around just to go to the toilet and stuff. And then I went for this run with Sam, which was actually, it's probably the best run I've had in years, kind of thing. We were just out on the Brecon Beacons, snowed overnight. We were there for the sunrise up on Pen y Fan and everything. Just an amazing day. Completely took my mind off it. And then the last half an hour, I was like running back down the hill. We'd been out for, I think, like 4.5, 5 hours, so decent day out, and it was great. And then in the last half an hour, I was going to Sam. I was like, God, my chest is getting a bit tight. And I just thought it was the cold and everything. Anyway, got back to the car. We had a quick, we had some lunch down the road. And as I was driving home, I was literally, I couldn't go in, like, if you've ever driven through, like from mid Wales up to North Wales, just can't avoid roundabouts, just roundabout. And it got to the point where I couldn't lift my arm around, like I literally couldn't go round a roundabout, so I had to pull over at this McDonald's. And I was like, I'm having a heart attack here. And it was that bad across my chest. But anyway, it kind of eased off, and I couldn't just... Well, I knew I wasn't having a heart attack, because then I thought it's definitely muscle. Anyway, got home and I was saying to Charlotte, I was like, oh my God, it's really bad. And I'd broken a couple of ribs the year before. Not in that run. The year before in that Tour de Helvellyn, which we'll cover on the injury episode. I'd broken a couple of ribs. And it was that kind of feeling. I was like, that's really bad. Anyway, went to the doctors and he was like, have you had any stress recently? And I was like, well, yeah, funny enough. And obviously went into it. He goes, you've got costochondritis. And I've never heard of it before, but it's like, it was inflammation of those, like intercostal muscles, like in your ribs. And he was like, the stress and the run, it's the inflammation that's how it feels like. People end up in A&E thinking they're having a heart attack, and I was obviously driving home, so it's just like Chris was saying, it's a massively stressful time kind of thing. And although I'd had a great day out, it just pushed me over the edge. And I was like, and you said you had 2 weeks off work then. I had just 10 days, 2 weeks of doing nothing and chilling out. Yeah,
it hits you like a train, doesn't it, when it happens? I mean, I even got upset before Molly, the last dog, died. I mean, this was going back years and years ago. We were sat in a restaurant in Italy, like a nice romantic meal. Just not the dog wasn't ill, the dog wasn't old, and I just for some reason started thinking about the dog and what life would be like without the dog.
Yeah.
And imagined that she died, and I just had this breakdown in the middle of this meal. Like when I say breakdown, I think the waitress thought there was something wrong with the pizza, like she didn't like the pepperoni or whatever. But I totally lost my shit. The dog was fine. Like the dog was just like with us, like on the floor, and nothing wrong with it at all. But the thought of losing the dog and just thinking about it intensely for a few minutes, like, just set me off. And I don't even know where it came from. But that was just a prelude to like what actually happened. But then, you go through these times where you lose a dog, you have to try and get over it, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. But then a new dog comes into your life and you can give it all your love, and you have these amazing fun moments with them, then, don't you? And for that short space of time where it is just utterly gut-wrenching, it is worth those 10, 15 years that you can have with the dog, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Like I've got like a couple of friends that we would run every Sunday, and we're basically not linked by the dogs. We've been friends since school age, but like having the dogs because you know when you grow up together, and it's like we all got dogs at similar time, and it was so I had a sheepdog, and Mike had a boxer, and my other friend Mark had a lab. It was like, but couldn't get more 3 random dogs running out on the hills, and the boxer was actually like fit as a fiddle, so was the lab. And we had like 7-8 years of running pretty much every Sunday with those 3 dogs, kind of thing. And you think, like you say, it's like I remember more about times with the dogs than I do going out on dates and stuff with Charlotte, kind of thing. And that's a weird link to link, but it is. It's like I've just got loads of memories of having the dog than anything else, to be honest. I've
got a couple of albums on my phone, one of Luna, one of Pete, which has got hundreds of pictures in of them. I haven't got one of Kirsty.
Yeah.
Screensaver, either Leeds badge or
when
dogs.
The iPhone does that stupid face recognition thing.
Your dogs come up first.
Like the dogs keep coming up, and it's usually a stupid video, and the kids, and that's kind of it. There's nothing else. Yeah.
I just remembered a funny story because you sat on that sofa, and about a year ago I was laid on that same sofa. It was the most hungover I've ever been in my life. Like I'd been at, well, maybe not, but it was up there. I'd been out on a works do and got in pretty late. I'd far too much to drink, and like it was one of those hangovers where if you move, you're like literally wanting to throw up. And Luna had just come into season at the time. Pete was about 6 months old, and he was like getting a little bit frisky, but the vets had told us like he's only 6 months, like you don't need to worry about anything. Anyway, Kirsty was sort of like looking after the dogs while I was typically dying on the sofa. I was working at the time, just typing like 4 letters a minute, doing nothing really. I might as well just put my laptop away. But she said, I'm just going to nip to the shop, I'll be 5 minutes. Anyway, she went to the shop, and in that exact moment that she shut the door, Pete jumped on the back of Luna, started shagging her, and they got stuck together. I'm not joking, I freaked out, like threw up. I didn't know what was going on. They were stuck together for like half an hour. Kirsty came back in after 5 minutes. She's like, what is going on? And I was just freaking out. I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't, you're not supposed to separate them. I've never seen, I know about it happening. It's when they lock on. And I just didn't know what to do. I didn't think Pete had it in him, but clearly he did. Little top shagger. But then I had to wait 25 minutes while they sort of just came apart naturally. I was Googling it whilst throwing up, and yeah, I mean, it's a good performance. It's broken all sorts of records there, hasn't it? I mean, thankfully, we got unmuted pretty quickly afterwards, but yeah, Pete, it took me by surprise on that one, but it just reminded me whilst I was... It wasn't on the sofa, by the way, so you're all right. It was just on the floor down there, but I was laid on the sofa and had to witness one of the most horrific experiences of my life.
Don't go to one of P. Diddy's parties, is what you're saying.
That's the moral of the story. That was the moral of the podcast. Stay away from P. Diddy. Oh, gosh. Brilliant. Oh... Yeah, so with that in mind then, Gary, I think...
We're going to finish on that,
I think we're going to finish on that. I don't know how we top that, to be honest. I don't know where we go from there, to be honest. But I think there's definitely more mileage in more dog-related podcasts, like perhaps one on Canicross. Perhaps we revisit this in some way.
I think we've maybe done Canicross a disservice in terms of like... Because I've seen them... and I've seen them up close. Especially in Wales, there's a series of races where you race at Coed y Brenin, like Matt Ward ran, and you would be racing. It's competitive, hard racing, but the Canicross would go off a little bit late, kind of thing. So they like the top ones there are running through you, and they have like the one lady was like European champion, everything. It's just the power that the dogs come past you with. It's only now having Eric on a harness I can understand, like, you have to be very talented, so it'd be good to get, maybe we'll get a decent Canicrosser on.
Definitely. Yeah. It's another...
Rather than us saying, well, I'm not interested, it just goes for a piss every 5 seconds.
It's definitely another level to what we're experiencing, isn't it? It's a whole new sport. So, yeah, we'll pick that one up in a future episode. But, I mean, actually, my dogs have been quite well behaved for... almost, I think, the best part of an hour there, and I'm totally shocked. It's not like this normally, so
I think we're super lucky because as I was setting all the equipment up today, they were literally ripping each other's ears off, and I thought we were going to have to banish them to Gary's car at one point. So, what was here as well?
I'm going to go and lock them in your boot, Ben said.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit brutal as well.
We didn't say that. RSPCA, please don't shut me down.
Whilst we're on, this goes out audio but also on YouTube, it'd be really good to hear people's stories and you know what equipment do you recommend people use, or what they found good.
There's going to be endless dog stories, and everyone's got a dog story, whether you're a dog owner or you're that person that's come across a dog where it's like we didn't. Yeah, like I've had some close shaves with dogs in the past as well on the other end of things. So we'll definitely come back to it maybe.
Dog nicknames, dog stories, just reasons why you like running with dogs. Send them in. We'll go through it all.
Or even like you say, the sad stories as well. Like me and Ben like touched on ours. Like I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that've got similar stories. Yeah.
I mean, we said before this podcast, this episode, that it was going to be like an episode of Afterlife, wasn't it, with Ricky Gervais, where 1 minute you're almost like in tears crying, but then the next minute you reflect on those funny
like
stories.
you said, we wanted to do a dog one, but we couldn't do it without talking about our old dogs either. So it's like, oh, well, that's going to go down a certain line. But I think it's been all right in the end.
We got the balance.
Yeah,
we got the balance. I think we'll finish there. But if you obviously enjoy watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, stop watching it and then not subscribing, because we've got more watchers than subscribers, so just subscribe helps.
Balance it out, please.
Stop being so nice to them, Ben. You've got to tell them what to do.
Please leave us a review. Please leave us a review. We like to go through the reviews. In fact, just leave us a review, all right? We're telling you to leave us a review. So watch it, listen to it, leave a review. And we'll leave it at that for this week, Gary.
We will, yeah.
And we'll see you next Tuesday. How was that?
Hard cut.
Yeah.
Job done.
How long did we go for then? It seemed like a long time.
We've recorded for an hour and 11 minutes, but we're normally about 10 minutes of faffing around.
On the dog one?
Yeah.
It did feel like a long time.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
But it was a good like, again, you just... We could have probably gone on. That's great, yeah. I think these longer ones are fine, aren't they?
Yeah. I think an hour feels right. I think you need to get through 45 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
If it goes on for an hour.
Basically, what we're saying is mine and Ben's are more interesting than when there was more of us.